Good morning. On behalf of the Memphis team, just want to thank Flamboyan, especially Justin, for putting up with us, and that this has been an absolutely amazing experience. This morning has been so overwhelming, and it's extremely challenging to be the last person. But what we hope to do is lift the families' voices of the communities that we serve and leave you with a thought around what that really means to hear family voice. So as you listen and follow me over the next few minutes, just kind of make sure that you're paying attention to family voice, right? So imagine a world where families and communities are valued and their voices are heard regardless of what neighborhood they come from. Then imagine that all the schools where these families, babies attend, are lifting their voices in a way that empowers them. Then imagine true, intentional, respectful engagement. It's being just the norm. And if you can imagine that, then maybe you can imagine schools being so much more than year-to-year academic data points. Then maybe you can imagine a world where our neighborhood schools are not just temporary housing and training facilities for what will be cheap labor and prisoners in our country. And y'all probably gonna say, well, of course we can imagine this. Well, through our engagement with our families, it became clear that two things keep us from really connecting to this. One is valuing our families and our families not having trust in the schools. So, in order to gain that trust, what do we have to do? We have to have some form of a restorative practice. And so, in order to have a restorative practice, three things need to take place. There has to be an acknowledgement, a restitution, and a commitment. The acknowledgement is that apology that recognizes the harm. You did something, and that's why we feel the way that we feel. Restitution is the remedy that addresses the harm. And the commitment is a willingness to turn away from any wrongdoing or to ever go back there for what caused the harm. This is so powerful as it lifts the family voice and reaffirms or establishes the community as a super valuable asset. Thus, trust begins to be reestablished, and value is soon to follow. So, as we move forward, I just wanted to think about, over the last year, as a team, we've had the opportunity to really authentically engage families. And the families' responses were grounded in what they wanted to see or what they had experienced as it related to engagement. And I was extremely excited about this because I see engagement, true engagement, as the secret sauce to great schools. And so I was like, oh, wow, now we can finally standardize a way to take what great principals do and place them in all schools. If you kind of think through the fact that all great schools have a principal that does this work at a high level, but we're never able to really just say, well, what does he or she really do? And in my mind, this was a way for us to get the voices of the families and parents to determine what that really looked like. As we spoke to our parents and families, there was a theme that became very apparent. 5 particular themes came through. And in the village format, we decided to place these under standards that were named after the African and Dinka symbols. Each standard represents what parents said that they wanted to see or had seen as important to family-centered schools. The first one is a coma. And mind you, each one of these standards tells a story about what makes family-centered schools the game changer for education in our country. A coma is around open communication, patience, tolerance, open communication. And this may seem like just a simple flyer, but it's welcoming to our families. And if you see, it says a free family dinner, open to the community, open communication. This has nothing to do with your child not behaving, nothing to do with a report card. This is a free family dinner. We're going to afterwards talk about a field trip, but in the end, it's open to the entire public, the entire community, pardon me. ACOMA, the first standard of open communication of building family-friendly schools. Consent, unity, relations, build relationships. I think this story is interesting in that this young man was a student that had some challenges when he was a high school student. But because of the relationships that we have in a community, he was able to meet this young lady who happens to be the CEO of a nonprofit who takes over properties. And she was talking to me. Quick story. She's talking to me, and he comes up and he says, Dr. White, good to see you. I miss being in school, so on and so on. And so she says, well, what's your name? He says, well, my name's Theron. She says, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm looking for a job. She begins to tell him what she does. I procure properties. I refurbish properties. And he says, oh, man, I would love to be able to do something like that. She says, well, would you like a job? He says, well, sure. She said, well, come to work tomorrow. And so he's kind of like, I know, when is she telling the truth about this? But the family-centered school point to this is because of the relationships we had with him, because of the relationship we built with community partners, this encounter was possible. As a result, this young man is enrolled in the neighborhood, in the community college. He is studying real estate, and he is the light of our community because he's bought him a car. He comes to the school. He lets people know who he is as a result of us being a family, of us thinking through things in a family-centered way. A bond, love, safety, welcoming, and compassionate spaces. So this is a photo of our babies at one of our schools in Memphis who decided that because they live in a community where there was a high homeless population and there was a homeless shelter, that they wanted to start a soup kitchen. So there are monthly soup kitchens held at this middle school. And the power behind seeing students understand what service looks like and the adults modeling the behavior to show them that empathy and humility and serving your brother is all wrapped up in a part of the educational process. Super exciting. If you're in Memphis, please reach out to me. You'd love to come and assist these young people as they have their soup kitchens once a month. Endurance and resourcefulness, Aya. So as we walk through this, there's always there's a line that connects it all. So the middle school, who taught service and giving back, was attended by Christopher, young man at the far right. Your left, my right. He, as a result of being a part of that school that was family-centered, saw it in his heart as a high schooler to see the challenges being faced by Michael, the young man in the middle, to reach out to Antoine, the young man next to Will Smith, to say, let's do something for him. I see that he's being challenged, and because of the experience that I had at a family-centered school, I know what needs to be done. So he sought the assistance of Antoine, who is an 11th grader. Those other two young men are 9th graders. They decided they were going to purchase and give Michael some items because of some challenges he was facing. And as a result, by hook or crook, it went viral. I had no idea folks were taping that, just for you, so you know. But our students saw it as a big deal. It went viral, and we ended up on Ellen. Once again, this doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when there's a connectivity and a belief that there are values that need to be taught in a family-centered school that drive students to be more than just test takers. Sankofa, learn from the past, honor the family voice. So, families want to feel like they mean more than just when certain situations occur. This photo is a photo of students walking in on the first day of school. Those are all men, just in case you can't see it, that have shown up on the first day of school to high-five elementary kids as they walk in the door. Ooh, if you don't get excited about that and get the chill bumps, then you're in the wrong place. And this is not the field for you. That's what it's all about. And so families need to feel that. Like we talked earlier about like the respect and the mutual respect and families really wanting to know that we really care. Like all of these things are the things that matter. So I guess finally, the last story is the fact that when schools start to do this at a high level, then students are able to overcome insurmountable odds. An example of a young man who experienced child abuse, absent mother, gang violence, crime, homelessness, and the school identifying those challenges and ensuring that the supports were there. And that young man happens to be standing in front of you today. So I get up on fire every day about schools being family-centered and ensuring that you pour into kids in a way to where they can become great. If that's not why we're getting up every morning, we should reflect. I see schools as the oasis of hope and the lifeblood of the community. If we respect and value families and see family-centered schools as the new norm, it'll be a game changer. I said before, I think it's the secret sauce to great schools. And schools have to be seen as more than a data point. We have to see schools as more than that. It is our responsibility to see every school, regardless of where it is and who attends them, as the lighthouse to the future of mankind. And hear this, not as a mass producer of cheap laborers and future prisoners. Please hear that. Please hear that. So, in conclusion, let's all reflect on how simple this is. It's simple. We just need to value folk and regain their trust. That's it. Once we do that, all of the rest starts to fall into place. So I ask everyone to make a commitment to work tirelessly to make family-centered schools the new norm, seeing it as an equity lever, seeing it as a way to bridge that gap. Because how will history actually judge us if we knew, but actively ignored it, or placed blame on someone else, or did nothing about it? So I say, let's embrace our place in this space and time and help to lead the change that we like to see. Thank you.